Hi, this is Ricky from Data Mastery. Welcome to our channel. Today we are going to start a series on DBT and Snowflake, starting with very basic, like how you can set up DBT core on your laptop and how you can connect with your Snowflake, run your first DBT model, and all that kind of basic stuff. So gradually we will keep on adding more complexity in the upcoming videos, and by the end of this series it's going to probably take 8 or 10 videos in total. So by the end of this series the expectation is that you will get a very solid understanding, and not just the theoretical understanding but also how things work in real life. So we're going to introduce some cool projects down the road which will enhance your DBT modeling skills and how you can do the modeling using DBT and Snowflake. So this is the first part of the series, and in this video we are going to understand how you can set up your local laptop, or how you can configure your local development environment. And then you need to have a Snowflake trial account. If you don't have one, just go ahead and sign up. It's totally free for 30 days, and then you can just, once it's expired, then you can just renew that, or just take another subscription using the same email ID. But you will lose all your work, so make sure you download your notebooks and whatnot. But that's the only thing that you need. So starting with this local setup, so what we first need is, I have just created a brand new folder called dbt_series. So the first thing, before I do anything else, is I'll create a virtual environment. Like, you can run uv command, or you can also do that using pip command as well. So once you initialize a virtual environment, you will see that there is a .vnev, or virtual environment hidden folder there. So what do we need to do? We just need to activate this first of all. So now I have my virtual environment activated, and for this particular this video, and maybe a few videos down the road as well, we need this package. For now, just one package, which is dbt-snowflake. This will install dbt core and also Snowflake plugin on your local laptop. So this will allow you to run the dbt commands and also connect with Snowflake. And finally, I have this dummy data that I'll show you how you can upload to Snowflake. So I just have one dummy data with 3 rows and one header, which is like 4 columns in there. Okay, so first of all, once you activated this, then you can say pip install. So I already have this package installed, so you see there is no output here. However, you can just, after running this pip install command, you can type dbt --version, and it will show you this is the dbt core, and this is the installed version, which is latest, and this is the plugin, which is called Snowflake. All good. So we have a dbt set up on our local machine. The next thing that we need to do is log into the Snowflake account, and then configure or create some database schemas, roles, and whatnot. So I'm gonna go to my Snowflake account, and what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna create a new role and create a new database, and then a couple of schemas in that database. dbt test, which we will use to store the clean data, and the raw schema will be used to ingest the raw data from the CSV that I showed you earlier. And then we're gonna apply some grants, like the usage on the database and the schemas, and the create table, create view on the schemas, and then all these required privileges that we need to grant to this particular role. And finally, you can grant this role to the user, and this is the user that we will configure in the dbt initialization. And you can also need to grant the appropriate permissions or privileges on this warehouse for this role. Like, this role should be able to operate this warehouse, right? So you need to make sure that you have proper assignments. So I'm just going to select all these and I'm going to run all these statements. Okay, so all these statements are executed. The next thing that we need to do is to upload the transactions.csv file that I showed you earlier into Snowflake. And we are going to use, so if you see here under dbt underscore demo, I have a dbt test and I have a raw schema, which is empty, obviously. So I'm going to ingest the transactions.csv into the raw schema. And you can use NoSQL to upload, or you can just go here, upload local files, browse. This is my CSV file. And now you can select dbt underscore demo, and then I'm gonna ingest into the raw schema. And then since the raw schema is empty, so I'm gonna say create a new table and ingest all the data what's there in the CSV into this new table. So click on next. And it will automatically figure out the schema of the table, like how many columns are there, the data types and all that stuff, and click on load. So once the data is loaded, I will go back to my project, my worksheet, not this one. And I'm going to run this command called select star from transactions. Make sure that you have the proper database and the schema selected here, and then click on or execute this statement. So you can see here I have 3 rows, and if I go to my transactions.csv, you can see that I have 3 rows here as well. Okay, so that's good. So we have installed dbt locally, we have configured Snowflake, we have also ingested raw data in Snowflake. The next thing that we need to do is to configure dbt so that it can talk to Snowflake. So how you can do that, you can initialize a dbt project. So in this case, dbt underscore demo is the project name, and you can just run this command. And it will just ask that, okay, you already have a profiles.yaml, you're just going to overwrite it. I will say yes. And now which database would you like to use? I have only one option or one plugin that I installed, which is Snowflake. So I just type 1 and hit enter. Next, we need to specify this value of the Snowflake account. So how you can get this value, you go to your Snowflake account, and here under your profile, you see this account, and keep scrolling back, and whatever your active account is, click on this view account details, and you just need to copy this account identifier. So go back to my IDE, and I'm going to put it here. My username is RickyB30. The authentication is password. Now, what's the password for my user? So let me fetch that real quick. And I'm going to paste the password here. The role is dbt underscore role. If you're not sure, you can just go back to Snowflake and see what's the role name. And the warehouse name is, again, copy it from here just to be on the safe side. The database, the default database that dbt will build objects in, the default database is dbt underscore demo. The schema in which dbt will build the objects. So right now we have 2 schemas in this database, raw and dbt test. Raw is used for the raw data, obviously, and we want to use the dbt underscore test schema for the dbt to create the new objects in this particular schema. And now you can see that a profile has been created, which is good. So I'm just gonna clear this. Okay, so now what we have a new project folder created here with bunch of subfolders. Now we don't need to go through all of these folders in today's video. What we're gonna interested in is models directory. So I'm gonna delete this example folder, and then I'm gonna create a couple of new files here. But before I do that, I will look into this dbt project.yaml file. So don't bother about all of these details. Those are just added, by default. So what I'm interested in right now is this. So what is this configuration? This configuration means when dbt reads your raw data, and based on the whatever model that you specify, it's going to create a new object. Now, what will be the type of that object, whether it's going to be a view or it's going to be a table, right? So whatever we specify here, this is going to be the new object type. Now you can specify this configuration at the folder level. So remember the example folder I deleted from the models directory. So you can specify at those model levels or the folder levels, or you can globally specify for this project. So I'm just going to get rid of this, and I'm going to specify globally that for all the models in this project, the final materialization should be of type view. Okay. Because in Snowflake, you can create tables, you can create views. So by default, I would say this should be view. And where is our model? So that's where we're going to use this models directory, and we're going to create a new model. So let's call it transactions_clean.sql. So I'm just going to grab the code for this model. So this is my model, which will read the data from the transactions table in the raw schema, and I'm doing a little bit of typecasting here. Like I'm changing the data type of this column, which is amount, and the transaction date. And then I'm gonna create a new view. Like dbt will materialize this thing into a view and create that new view in the dbt_test schema. Now, one thing to notice is that, okay, where this source is defined, like how will dbt come to know that, okay, this source is basically a raw schema in the dbt_demo database. Like how will it come to know? So for that, we need to create a new file called schema.yaml. So in schema.yaml, we will provide all these details. So for example, so I have a database which is called dbt_demo. And the schema in that database is called raw, and the table in that schema is called transactions, and the name of the source is called raw. So this is what you see here. The name of the source is raw, and within that the table name is transactions. Now we have one model defined which is called transactions_clean. What it does is it basically does some typecasting for a couple of columns. Now you can also specify some test cases on a specific column. For example, transaction_id is my primary key. So I want to make sure that the primary key is not null and it's also gonna be unique. So I have defined one model here. Then I have defined these, the sources and the models and the test cases here. And I have also defined what should be the final materialized type. In this case, it's going to be a view. So one last thing that's left is to run this, run this dbt project and see what's going to happen. So one last time, if I go to my Snowflake, I'll see that the dbt_test is empty and I have a transactions table in the raw schema. Okay, so now I'm going to run dbt run command. And here you can see that it found one model, which is dbt_test transactions_clean, right? And the materialized type is going to be a view. So you can see that it created a view in this dbt underscore test schema by the name transactions underscore clean. And we also had two data tests, and all the tests basically passed. So there is no issue in that as well. The other thing that you can do is before you run dbt run, you can say dbt test. So it will basically run the test cases that you have defined, and it will tell you that whether there's any issue with the test or not. So you can see here, the first test was not null in this transactions clean, whatever the model that we specify. The transaction ID is the column name, and it should not be null, and it should be unique. So both of these tests are passed. So that looks good. And we have also materialized our the model into a view. And how you can look that, so you can go back to your Snowflake and refresh it, and within the dbt underscore test, you will see that you have one view here, which is called transactions underscore clean. So what if I say select star from dbt demo.dbt test.transactions clean. So this is what we have got. So this is the cleaned data with some typecasting changes. Now, if you look at the transactions in the raw schema, you will see this amount, which is of 38 digits with 2 decimal places. And if you look at the transactions clean, you will see that the amount is 10 digits with 2 decimal places. So this is the transformation that we did in the model that we defined in dbt. So this was our first model, and this is where we understood how you can set up your local environment, how you can set up Snowflake, and create the appropriate roles, schemas, and then define first model, or the only model in dbt, and how you can set up the references for your source, how you can define the test cases, and then finally run the dbt run command to materialize the data into a view or a table based on whatever materialization that you have selected. Now this was only for the one bulk data that we uploaded. What about the data that is basically keep on changing? Like we'll keep on uploading new data with some changes and entirely new data. So how the dbt the modeling is going to work in a continuous fashion, so that we don't have to do this bulk imports, right? So that is something that we're going to discuss in the next video, because in order to understand that, you need to understand how dbt works, how dbt modeling work, and all that stuff. So that's what we have discussed in this video. So in the next video, we will see how you can deal with the continuous data, and we will see if we add new data, what's going to happen, how this dbt model is going to be executed. So stay tuned for next video, and as I said earlier, we'll keep on adding new complexity into this series as we progress forward. So thanks for watching this one. Do practice it a little bit, and if you have any questions on anything, whatever we discussed in this video, feel free to put your questions in the comments, so that when I record the second video, I will go through the comment section. If there will be any questions, I'll address those questions in the upcoming videos as well. So thanks for watching, stay tuned, and cheers.